Have you built a 6 or 7 figure business, but now you're struggling to keep it profitable or scale it to the next level? Do you spend all your time working in your business instead of working on your business? Have you thought about hiring an executive coach, but you're just not sure it's worth the time and the money you need to invest in it? What if I told you that you could build a business where your role as founder was to sign checks twice a month, go out to lunch once a week, and have one 90-minute bi-weekly meeting? In the next 2 episodes, you'll meet my friend Mike Rogers, who closed his 7-figure mechanical business, reset with the help of executive coaching, and relaunched a juggernaut that's now pushing 8 figures. Do you ever feel stuck? The alarm goes off and you think, is this really my life? Do you wish you could douse your relationships or your career or even your business with rocket fuel and throw a match on it? End the blah once and for all. They either launch or they burn up and you get to start over. I've been there and I see you. I'm Ben Walters, an entrepreneur, pastor, coach, and consultant. If you're ready to get unstuck and ignite your super pumped life or business, I'll give you the rocket fuel and the match. All you have to do is light it. I am super excited to have my friend Mike Rogers with me. Mike is the owner of Jags Mechanical. So welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ben.
Well, thanks for joining me. I am excited to hear more about your story and to have you share more of your kind of journey with the listeners, because I think it's an inspirational one. And I also think it's one that has a lot of insights for owners who are muddling along. So just tell me a little bit about your background, how you kind of got into owning your own business.
All right. Well, real quick story. I graduated in 1987, so I'm one of them old guys. I didn't think I was an old guy, but here it is, snuck up on me. But I was going to college because that's what I was told to do, and went to the Army, got the Army to pay for a little bit of it. And then finally I said, this isn't for me, because I was taking remedial courses of things that I had already known. Went and got a job, knocked on a guy's door, happened to be my uncle, and he ran an ice cream. He sold soft serve ice cream machines, and he needed a service tech. So I immediately just took the job and didn't even know what it did, but I ended up in the refrigeration trade.
Okay.
And I food service, and then fixed ice machines, fixed chicken fryers, and fixed soft serve ice cream machines for about 5 years, and got to learn the trade.
Isn't that funny how back then we went and beat on doors? I know my first door, I went around my first job, I went around the neighborhood, literally just banging on businesses like,
oh yeah,
do you need help? So
it was hilarious because I knocked on his door, and he started this business the year before, and he had sold ice cream machines and been a service guy for probably 25 years up till then. And he started this company, and I knocked on his door and said, anybody you know that's looking for any type of worker, if you know them, I'll take the job. And he just happened to say, hey, I need a service tech. And I just,
so he was about a year into his new venture and
correct.
Needed help.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And he had a service tech, but the guy was getting overwhelmed, and he just needed somebody. So he basically did what I'm doing now, is just trained me from zero.
Okay.
And went, and I learned how to use, I kind of knew how to use tools. I was fairly intelligent, but wasn't engineer intelligent.
Right.
And so we basically learned the trade. I got to stop doing that. Can't click a pen on your podcast. But basically we learned the trade, worked there for 5 years.
Okay.
Tried sales for about 9 months. Absolutely despised the sales.
Really? What did you despise about it?
Okay. So as a service technician, if you fail 1% of the time, you're a failure. In sales, if you fail 80% of the time, you're a genius.
That's true.
So my self-esteem couldn't handle that.
Okay.
So, go out and talk to people, and they say, and you never hear from them again. And it's like, what did you what did you actually do today? Was my attitude. And
Yeah.
it stunk, man. I hated it. So
Okay.
finally we parted ways, and I went over to one of my customers as a sales rep, and he gave me a job as a refrigeration tech. And I
Okay.
was there for 5 years.
Okay. So
Moved
you
to
were
Cincinnati.
roughly, after that 5 years, right around 30, would you say?
No, I was 25. I started at 20. I was about
Okay.
25.
Okay.
Did about 9 months in the sales at an
Uh,
ice machine company. And
okay.
then one of the customers for the ice machines, Miller's Refrigeration, hired me. And I
Okay.
worked there for about 5 years.
Okay.
Went back to the original company for a minute and a half. And then I was in Akron, Ohio at the time. And
Okay.
then something happened in personal life, and I had to move down here to Cincinnati.
Okay.
And so I got a job at Edwards Electrical Mechanical, which they did everything electrically with mechanical. So I learned the HVAC side of things,
Okay.
air handling, moving, and then did that for about 5 years, and then got a job with another guy, and he paid me a lot of money to move to his company about a year or two before. But
Okay.
it was a one-man outfit, and I was the second guy. I'd
Okay.
done that before, with my
Uh-huh.
uncle. And so it was a good idea at the time, but this is the reason I went into business. He actually was paying 100% of my healthcare premiums. And
Okay.
my wife was 5 months pregnant with
Okay.
my youngest son. And
Okay.
I got a letter in the mail. I came home from a vacation in October, and the letter in the mail was, here's your paycheck, but starting next month, you're going to have to pay 100% of your own healthcare premiums.
And that was a letter? That wasn't something the owner could have told you in
No.
person as a one-person operation?
Yeah.
How'd you
it was
feel
a
about
letter.
that? That must have made you mad.
Within 15 minutes, I was sitting in front of a business banker starting my company with $50.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I got home at like 3:00 on a Friday afternoon. And by 3:30, I was opening up a business account down at for a PNC bank right around the corner from the house. And
So was that
they asked me, what?
Was that purely reactionary, or had you been thinking about starting your own business? I mean, that seems incredibly fast.
It was incredibly fast. No, I had thought about it for years and years and years.
Okay.
It's like, you got to do this. You have to do this. You have to do this. This is something you can do. You have to do it. But you really need some catalyst.
Sure. So that was the catalyst.
Okay. Yeah, you're getting a W-2. You're working for somebody else. The safety of a paycheck kind of holds you. And, I always thought, I'm doing everything that guy's doing. Why am I doing it for him? But you're sitting in a truck and nothing ever makes you move. And then there was that catalyst. It was just, I was angry. And basically I had that account open Friday afternoon. On Monday morning, I walked in. I said, here's my 2-week notice.
Wow.
He was kind of expecting it.
Okay.
They were in some financial trouble from some, it was a little bit of, they were in financial trouble, not because of the work. It was because they were getting, what's it called? Embezzled.
Oh, wow. That can really sink a company. Yeah. I know some friends who've had that happen.
By a couple $100,000. So
that's
the
brutal.
money was disappearing and they couldn't handle it.
Wow.
So this was their reaction. We found out 6 months later what was actually happening. I found out maybe 6 months or a year later what was actually happening. It was a sad tale.
Wow.
But I didn't know it at the time. And thank God I didn't know it at the time. It might have swayed my decision.
Sure.
But I was in business in 15 minutes with $50.
Wow.
And what the funny thing is in that that was the very first place I ever had in the trades. If you're dealing with customers on a daily basis, different customers. So in this trade, in what we do is service, if you come in and quit, you can give me a 2-week notice. I'm going to ask you to leave within the hour.
Okay.
And we'll probably pay you. We'll pay you for the 2 weeks. Thank you for the 2-week notice, but I don't want you in front of my customers anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
And So, but this was the very first place he made me work out my 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
So,
Wow.
so I got 2 weeks to put everything together. I went to work for him, worked, as hard as I could. I was honest. And then I was buying a truck. The funny thing was, and this is a good lesson. I was trying to buy a truck. So I was trying to buy a used truck.
Sure. Definitely. Yeah.
$8,000.
Uh-huh.
And I had good credit.
Okay.
But they would not give me a loan for a used work truck. But they would give me a loan on a brand new E250 van, Ford E250, $30,000. And so I called up a mentor of mine from Bedford, Virginia, and I said, they won't give me money for a used van. And the guy, he's been in business for 20 years. And he said, are you going to make $30,000 and quit? And I said, no. And he goes, well, then go buy the van. What do you got to worry about?
Right.
He said, the Lord said he would supply all your needs. Now go out and make some needs. And
wow.
I hung up and this is the way I've done it for my entire time I've been in business. Hung up the phone with that guy. I got a action that I was supposed to take. I was down at the Ford dealership, and within an hour, signed the papers on the $30,000 truck. I got it all outfitted for HVAC and put the ladder racks on it. The whole deal was $30,000, and I started in business on the first Monday. I had a job at a buddy's house. I had another job nearby. And then my next job was driving to Bedford, Virginia to do some air conditioning for guys down there in Bedford, Virginia, and then enjoy the weekend with my friends. Then came back and got started. The good thing was I probably did about, in that first week, probably did about 4 hours of selling.
Okay.
Handing out a card, letting the people know I was in business. And I probably got 3 weeks to 4 weeks worth of work out of that 3 or 4 hours.
Wow. Was that trying to poach customers that you had worked for previously as an employee, or were you purely going out?
It was purely going out dry run. I was cold calling people.
Okay.
But the thing is that I'm in the refrigeration room, but I'm in the restaurant niche.
Okay.
And so going to restaurants, and I would say I was decent at what I did. The thing is restaurant managers move. They move from this restaurant to that restaurant, from this restaurant to that restaurant. So half the time when I'd walk into a restaurant I'd never been in before, I knew somebody in the restaurant already. And so when you walk in, oh, you're here. Oh yeah. What are you doing here? I said, man, I'm on my own. I'm a service guy. You know what I do? They go, man, we'll get you right in here. Can you fix this today? And I get a service call just like that. And I'm saying that because I want everybody to know, whether you're young, you're old, whatever, whoever's listening to this, if you're in a trade, it is so needed that's the kind of reaction you get. And if you're good, conscientious, all you got to do is be honest, trustworthy, conscientious. Those things will probably get you the job.
Yeah.
You being good at your job will get you to keep the job. You'll get paid immediately. So it's really easy for me to say that. It was really easy. I brag that I've done about 25 days of sales in 19 years.
Wow.
And 20 of those days was on the west side of Cincinnati. Now, this is the World Wide Web. You don't know the difference between the west and the east side of Cincinnati, but the west side is a click.
Sure.
And I got zero business on the west side of Cincinnati.
Because you weren't from the west side.
No,
they don't trust you. Right. Yeah. Who's going to trust a guy from Akron,
Yeah. So I didn't get any business on the west side, even though I live on the west side.
Okay.
My sons are West Siders, so they're in.
They're okay.
I worked my tail off to get business over here. Never got it done. I built a huge business everywhere else in Hamilton County, Ohio, and northern Kentucky, everywhere else. But I promise I did one job on the west side for one chili restaurant, $600, $700 thing. And the guy wouldn't pay me cash or a check. He only paid me in food. Come back and
I'll feed you.
So $700 of cheese conies for a service call. I can't eat that many cheese conies, man. It
No.
was hard. I went there for Thanksgiving and picked up pies and everything. I couldn't even
Wow.
spend $700. It was hilarious.
Wow.
But that's the way this went. It's a great occupation to have. It is also, from the time I started in 1989, you got to realize ice cream machines go on little ice cream stands for the most part.
Right.
And so every little town and burg in the Northeast Ohio, and my territory was from Columbus to Wheeling, West Virginia, to Erie, PA, to basically Sandusky. And so everything in the middle, every little town I was in, and you go through and you learn everything about towns and cities and how they work. And it was so interesting. And you're out on a job at 6 or 7 o'clock at night on a random Wednesday afternoon in the middle of July, and it's 6:30, 7 o'clock, and you got a 2-hour drive home from Wheeling, West Virginia.
Yeah.
And you just pop on the radio, and there's Tom Hamilton up in Cleveland calling the baseball game.
Oh yeah.
Back, and it's just the sun shining. It's setting on the hillside, looking at the river coming up. It's just it was just a great job to have.
Wow.
It's like, I don't know anybody that would sit in an office, and now I'm sitting in an office, but sitting in an office all the time is just like, I'm glad this was my occupation. I thank God for it, because I got into something that it really was my niche, and I loved.
What
the other thing about,
what do you say to people who maybe you mentioned how a lot of people, because they've got that consistent check and it's just enough to kind of keep them comfortable, that they get stuck there. And you happen to have a catalyst where the owner kind of made you mad with slicing your health care when you've got a 5-month pregnant wife. But is there anything you would say to people that maybe need to just jumpstart it without that outside catalyst or push or downsizing? Like, what words of encouragement would you say to get out of that seat, the number 2 seat or the tech seat, and become the entrepreneur?
This is going to get into psychology, because this stuff is real. So one of the things I've learned since I went into business, a catalyst is wonderful. And but here's the deal. Probably for 5 years, I was praying for something to get me to do that. There's got to be some type of, sign, some type of thing to push me out. I got it when it was time to do it. But in psychology, you could be optimistic. Don't say, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to start a business. You don't say those words. You say, I wonder how. You say, how can I? And if you say, I don't know how, I've learned this since, like, can I do a real quick lesson? Probably 2-3 minutes.
Yeah. That sounds fun. Let's do it.
Inside your brain, and I've learned this from somebody else, so this is not mine, this is Darren Hardy's. So inside your brain is a thinker and a prover. The thinker thinks. And whatever the thinker thinks, the prover is amoral. It just proves what the thinker thinks. So if you say, I don't know how to start a business, well, then your prover will dig in your basement of your brain, go up in the attic of your brain, pull out 3 or 4 examples and say, yep, you're right. Here's the proof. Here's the proof. But if you say, how can I? Or I wonder how. Well, your prover's amoral. It couldn't care less what your thinker thought.
Right.
It will go into the basement of it's called your subconscious, but it'll go in the basement in the attic of your brain and go, well, here's how, and here's how, and here's how. And hopefully one of those would motivate you to do it. Now, I didn't know that thought process back in the beginning, but I probably practiced it because it just happened to be an optimistic guy. This is optimism and pessimism. You can either have an optimistic attitude or a pessimistic attitude. It's your choice. It's your brain. Who decides what your brain thinks? You do.
Right. You do.
So if I would have had a positive mental attitude at the time probably within 2003, 2004, I could have probably started a business. It took me till 2006. Okay. So I could have done it 2 years earlier. probably couldn't have done it before that. My skill level wasn't as high as it could have been, should have been. I was good in the field, knew nothing about business. And again, I started the company with no knowledge on how to run a business, none.
Sure. Right.
It wasn't like I got an MBA in business.
Right. Okay.
And here's the other catalyst. If you're thinking about doing, act first, figure it out as you go.
Okay.
Because I don't care how much education you get, you will never know all of the things that are going to come upon you, and they're not going to teach it in class. Class will give you an idea,
right?
But you're not going to hit these barriers until you're in the business that you're doing, and you run into the issues, and you are the one that has to figure it out. Not a business class, not a professor, not anything else. You're the one's going to have to figure it out. Well, the good thing is, in my business, I had nobody else. I'd seen it for 15 years and I'd seen how they handled it.
Sure.
But, finding out I'm been in business 19 years. Some of those guys, the way they ran their business was not the right way.
Right.
And I just mimicked what I'd seen, but it wasn't, those weren't good policies. And now the policies are different. So then, you go for it. I worked from the end of 2006 to 2020. And by the time I got to 2018, I was exhausted, tired, frustrated, and doing fine. I had a good living, but I was frustrated and tired.
So let's talk about that, because you ran a good business for 12, 14 years, but then there was a point where you decided you wanted to seek out some outside coaching, and it was right before the pandemic. Is that correct? You'd kind of signed on with somebody.
Let's do two things first and then that. What I want to do is say, somebody handed me a book called The E-Myth.
The E-Myth? Okay. Yep, I know that book.
Okay. And inside that book, it says you don't own a business. If you're just a one-man show, and I had a helper or two, but I was a one-man show. If you own a one-man truck or run a one-man bakery or you do anything, you don't own a business, you own a job.
Yep. That is so true.
You work for a maniac.
Yep.
Because you'll do things for this boss that you wouldn't do for any other boss. Yep. You'll get up at 3:00 in the morning and answer a phone for this guy, but you wouldn't do that for any other boss.
Right.
Not 24/7.
No.
And so he says, until you own a company that 100% runs without you, it's not a business.
So true. You are speaking my language right there. That is so true.
Okay, so this is like early 2008. I've been in business for like a year, and that's my goal right there.
Okay.
That's what I'm looking for. So from that time, and this is me. Listen, folks, don't read a freaking book and then set it on the shelf and do nothing.
Right.
That book gave me the clue as to what I needed to do. It gave me a goal, and I didn't set it on the shelf. I never picked that book up again, except to look at, here's how you build an org chart. Here's whose name is in every section of your org chart. You, Mike Rogers.
Yeah.
I made the coffee. I swept the floor. I did everything.
Right.
Okay. Which job are you going to quit first? And basically it was finance. Okay. I went out and handed my finance and my billing to my account. I paid for it. Right. Freed me up for 3 or 4 hours a week that I could go bill. All right. Next thing I needed was somebody to run my admin and answer the phones. You think these things cost you, but what they do is save you money. I went out and produced more money in the time it saved me but you don't know that as a one-man show. You think you got to do it all.
Yep.
But the more you pay for it, you do the thing that's most valuable to your company at all times. Every single thing you do, try to get it down to that one sliver of thing that you do the best.
Yep.
And pay for everything else. And
that is so
you
true.
will make more money that way in a heartbeat. So I learned that and put it into practice and started. But I didn't know how to hire people.
Okay.
And so when we get to fast forward to 2018, 19, I was frustrated. I started 2 other companies to try to exit out of this one. And I was every time I exited out of this one, it crashed.
Ugh.
I mean, didn't crash and burn, but I had to come
Right.
back in and say
Yep.
good day. And
Yeah.
guess what? When you're the main cog in the wheel and you disappear, you're the main clog in the wheel. And I was all of that. It was running because of my ingenuity and my drive and my everything. So a buddy of mine said, "Hey, this guy helped that guy. Why don't you talk to him?" I go, "What do I got to lose? I'm about to the end of my rope."
Okay.
So we talked for 4 hours. He decided that I was good enough risk to take on as a client.
Okay. So this is a
And
coach, a business coach or an
this is a
executive
business
coach.
coach.
Okay.
He's a business. I'll give him a plug. Mike Lobeck of uh, Mike Lobeck Solutions or
Okay.
Business Solutions. But he just did HVAC. He'd been in the HVAC
Oh, interesting.
industry his
Okay.
entire career, and then started this. And what he does is he's a business broker, so he buys and sells business for people, evaluates them.
How much did you have to humble yourself? Because I've been there where it's like you want to think I know everything and I don't need some outsider coming in and telling me how to run my business. How much did you have to humble yourself and kind of shift your thinking in order to even make that leap to get a coach? Because that's a tough
this
one.
sounds arrogant. I think this
Uh-huh.
sounds arrogant, but this is absolutely true. I didn't humble myself at all. I absolutely positively knew that I did not know what I was doing.
Okay.
I read books. I read every book I could get my hand on. If
Okay.
somebody told me that a book was valuable, within 24 hours, I owned that book. And within 7 days, I probably read and put something from that book inside my company. You didn't get to where I was on my engine. I learned everything I knew, and I was putting everything into practice that I knew. But there was just some things that I didn't know. And here's what I didn't know. So we sit down in February 2020. The pandemic's starting to get ramped up. And so we agree. And here's what it went. It was $1,000 for 4 hours of his time.
Okay.
Every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I had to commit to 1 year. So $26,000.
Wow.
Okay. Today, that doesn't sound like a lot. Back in 2020, when you're not making money or not making huge money, it's like, I'm committing to something that I don't know whether I'm going to get a return on investment.
Yeah.
And so far, I basically invested in $20 books.
Right.
So
this was big ticket item here.
Right. I hadn't found the right conference to go to. I hadn't found the right anything. And so I'm getting into this, and I had some mentors online, but that's all I got was books and little things like that.
Sure.
So this was a huge endeavor. So that was the thing that was the hardest, was to decide that. But I decided it that day because that's the way I do. If I'm going to do
Make
this,
a
I'm going to
decision.
do this. I'm going to commit.
Yeah.
So fast forward, our first meeting was March 24th-ish. It was
Okay.
a Tuesday afternoon. On that Monday, Mike DeWine from Ohio closed every restaurant in the state. And I forget the guy's name. Well, Kentucky was shut down too. So every restaurant in Ohio and Kentucky, all of my customers were shut down the day before. And basically I got phone calls from every single customer, all of my big customers, probably 80% of my AR. And they all said, do not come here. Don't show up to our buildings. Cancel every single contract we have right now. And we're not paying you. And I got 4 phone calls within probably 20 minutes, and they all said the same thing.
Wow.
And I'm driving up to a job where that customer would not let our guys in the building, and we had a crane coming around the corner to do some work on the roof.
Oh, no.
So we basically had to shut down, and then I basically sent out a text right then. I said, bring your trucks to the shop. The state of Ohio is giving you an instantaneous unemployment check. I mean, all you got to do is use this code. I said, this is the only choice I have.
Right.
And I laid off 8 guys that day.
Wow.
The day before my coachee started.
Oh my goodness.
So that was terrible. That was the worst thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
I felt like a dog. But I had a huge AR. I had to make payroll that week. And I was going to make sure these guys were whole as far as I could get them and make sure they were whole. but I knew I couldn't get 2 weeks, 3 weeks into this because my AR was too huge.
Right.
And
right.
so basically I did that. And the next day my coach calls, he goes, "Hey, what are we going to talk about? What's our first order of business? What do you think is going to be a thing?" I said, first order of business, I just sent everybody home and they're all off for 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Sure.
And it ended up being 2 months.
Wow. So
And
you laid off all your people for 2 months. And yet here
For
you've
2
got
whole
this
months.
coaching contract to try and help your business get on track. That must have felt really surreal.
And if you remember, we know things now, 2025.
Right.
We didn't know them in March of 2020.
No, it was scary.
It was totally scary.
Yeah.
And so he called and he said, "Hey, do you want to delay this? Do you want to cancel?" And I said, "No." It took me a little bit more time to answer this, but I said, "No, we committed to it. I gave you my word and I've got the money. We'll go as long as we can.
Okay.
I don't know how long we can go, but we got to go. We got to do it." So I bit the bullet, spent the money, and unbelievable results. To the point where 3 months later, once the guys all came back and we only did like a month's worth of work, I screamed at the top of my lungs across the conference table where we were meeting. I stood up and I said, you won't cost me money for 3 years. If we stopped right now, you will not. I could pay you for 3 years and you've made 7 times that much money.
Wow.
Just by the things we tweaked in that 2 months.
That's
And
amazing.
Here it is, guys. I'll give you my secret sauce. Incentivize everybody.
Okay.
Okay. So how do you incentivize hourly employees?
How do
What
you
was
do that?
frustrating me? So number one, what was frustrating me is I'd get 30 hours out of my guys, but I'd pay them for 40. I get 30 hours billable. And they had legitimate reasons for not, a customer wasn't there, or, I drove here.
Blah,
and didn't
blah,
get
blah.
paid.
A lot of blah, blah, blah
And
from the owner's end. Yeah.
And I'm fighting with these guys. And it's hard, man. Maybe I'd get to 32 to 33 hours. But how do I get them to 40? Because right there, 32 to 40 hours is the profit in the company.
Yep. You're right.
And so we figured out a way to incentivize these guys to work 40 hours. Now, this is 2025 and it's been tweaked, but it was a perfect program. So when I brought them back from laid off, I only brought 3 of my technicians back.
So you were able to cut some of the dead weight.
Bad thing is I cut some of the good weight also because they didn't want to go onto an incentive program.
Interesting. Okay.
And so some of the dead weight, yes, I got rid of guys that weren't good. What I now know is culture fits.
Okay.
I now know. I didn't know that at the time. I just knew I wasn't having fun with those guys. And they weren't good fits for the company. They were down.
Okay.
They were pessimistic people, and I let them hang around. And so I got rid of them, come back. These guys are killing. I no longer have to ask them to work. We figured out a way we now pay double time. If you're billing a customer overtime, we pay the techs double time. I never have to pay them to be on call. I never have to pay them you get double time if you're billing a customer overtime. And that's on Monday, the first day of the work week. If you go out on Monday night and you bill a customer overtime, you're getting paid overtime. If you never make it to 40 hours this week, you're getting paid overtime.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, yeah. And we handled it that on this incentive program, we go back 12 weeks and we average your hours, how much you build. And when you go on vacation, if you build the right amount of hours, you get these increases in pay.
Wow.
Whatever your last 12 weeks average, we'll pay your vacation at that rate.
Wow.
So not your base rate, we pay you the bonus rate.
Okay.
And so then we developed a quarterly bonus structure where if you bill a certain number of hours, you get $1 an hour raise for the past quarter.
Wow.
Just for the past quarter. If you bill another step up, you get a $3 an hour raise for the past quarter. And if you bill the highest number I'm asking for, you get a $5 raise for every billable hour that you billed the last quarter. And you get it in one check. But the thing is they're filling up the bucket of money. They're doing it. It doesn't cost me anything.
No.
My gross profit went from 30%. My gross profit percentage went from 30% to 44 the first year. In 2020.
Amazing.
And we
Amazing.
and we lost 15% of the year. So I didn't
Wow.
even bill as much revenue that year. And I made more money. And so
all
right
because
now,
your frontline techs were aligned, their financial interests were aligned with the company's financial interests. Isn't that something how
you
incentivize the
so
heck
I
out of them?
incentivized the office. I incentivized the admin staff. Okay, if all of the techs in the field hit this number, you get a 5% raise. If they hit this next number, you get another 10% raise. If they hit the next number, you get another 10% raise, so you can get your base pay plus 25%. But the entire field has to be successful. Well, that's the admin's job, is to make everybody in the field successful.
Sure.
Help them out. So now they're incentivized to make sure those guys get to their numbers.
That's genius.
And so it just started rolling on itself. Now, the frustration I had in 2018, 2019 went away. Now I've got these two companies that I'm supposed to be running that I just let wither on the vine and basically let them go away. And I'm killing it. Next.
Listen on to part 2 of my interview with my friend Mike Rogers. It will have you rethinking the value of coaching, core values for your company, and incentivizing your employees to tenaciously grow your bottom line. Thanks for joining me today on the Super Pumped podcast. If you enjoyed today's show as much as I did, I have 3 quick next steps for you. First, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube to make sure you don't miss future episodes. Next, leave me a review in your podcast app and tell your friends about the show so others can find and benefit from the Super Pumped community. And finally, to put the ideas from today's show into action, visit us at superpumped.com to view the show notes, book a complimentary consultation, or take our free business launch readiness assessment. Keep well, and I'll see you next time.